Welcome to another edition of Bases and Balls with my good friend, Guardians broadcaster Jim Rosenhaus on 93.5, 1590 WAKR. Rosie, I guess first of all, as we head into this weekend and everything, it's been pretty interesting, I imagine, with different coaches and the COVID scare and everything with the team. From your perspective, talk about how everything played out in the last week.
Well, as smooth as possible, I think is the best way to put it. Coaching staff wise, I thought it was neat to see Carl Willis get a chance to manage there, especially over the weekend in Minneapolis, where that was the high point of his playing career, his time with the Twins, and he's still very popular there. So it was kind of a big deal for people in Minnesota too, as well as for Carl. But they tried to make it the transition as with the least possible differences in terms of what was going on. Because and Terry Francona mentioned it yesterday when he came back that they had talked a little bit about maybe bringing up the AAA coaching staff with Andy Tracy to manage the team, but they just thought everyone here, if they could implement as many people from the current staff as possible, then there'd be less learning new things like defenses and signs and all that kind of stuff. So it would be more seamless than maybe had they brought more people in. Now, it was nice to see John McDonald come in and have a chance to coach first, and he actually is still here. They're waiting to see if Sandy and Mike Sarbaugh can come back either today or tomorrow. But for the most part, I thought it went okay. And they lost a couple of games, but I think in terms of how it was run from a staff standpoint, everything seemed to be fine.
This go around with COVID this time with our team, the Guardians, it seems like it stayed away from the players' clubhouse. Is that true?
At least so far from those who tested and things like that. But you mentioned that, how has it gone? I think the biggest loss was the one player because Josh Naylor was red hot at the plate. And then you take him out of the lineup, and the hope is once he gets back in, he can pick up. But that's a big blow to this lineup. I think we're seeing that he really means a lot to this lineup, and to not have him the last week hurt the offense for sure.
We're talking with Guardians broadcaster Jim Rosenhaus, Bases and Balls. You mentioned the player. I wanted to talk a little bit about Owen Miller. You and I talked about him about a month ago, and he was part of the Clevenger trade. And maybe you could give the background if the Guardians really knew what they were getting here. This guy has been terrific, had a great year last year at AAA, got the call up, and everything is new. But, man, he looks confident at the plate, whether you put him at first, whether you put him at second. I love this guy's dynamics. What's the background on Owen Miller, Rosie?
Well, of all the people in the trade, I think you put them in the trade for a reason, but in terms of the marquee value, I don't know that he would have been at the top of the list, but obviously they saw something in him that they thought could work out well. How well, who knew? But I tell you what, he hit really well last spring, and then when he went to Columbus, he was on fire. Struggled up here, but sometimes that's okay for a young player because through those struggles, you try and figure things out. And if you can figure things out because of those struggles, you might be a better player for it. And I think we're seeing that from Owen Miller because he certainly, just being a year older in the major leagues, has helped considerably. He says he feels like he did, back to his high school days, high school, college, and the minor leagues, where just went up and hit, swung the bat well, and he's got that confidence again now at this level, which is really important.
Let's talk about team defense. And last year we had our struggles defensively. What about this year? You've seen every pitch, every out, every inning of every game so far. How would you rate this defense on this Guardians team?
It's interesting, Ray, because they have some moving pieces, and sometimes that leads to some miscues. And we've seen it at first base a little bit, sometimes on the infield, sometimes in the outfield. I know Ahmed Rosario's had some struggles out there and left, but I think when players have a chance to settle in a little bit, they've done okay, and we've seen some good defensive plays. You love having Miles Straw in center field. Jose Ramirez at third base has been tremendous. Andres Jimenez, whether it's short or second, has been really, really good. So there's some good and then there's some challenges, but it seems like it's getting better than it was the first month of the season. So that's certainly a positive.
Well, when you look behind the plate, it seems like Hedges, who had the reputation once he came here for solid defense, and I know Roberto Perez had a couple of gold gloves, but Hedges has been solid defensively behind the plate.
Yeah, and I think for him the big thing is blocking pitches in the dirt. When you have a pitcher like a Shane Bieber who loves to throw that slider in the dirt, you got to know that it's not going to go back to the screen. And I think they feel that with Hedges back behind the plate. He does a real nice job in terms of blocking pitches, calling the game, and that's huge. You got to have it for your catcher, especially if you rely on pitching as much as the Guardians do.
Rosie, to wrap it up, preview the series with the Tigers, and this is a team constantly rebuilding. They put some money into this team, but the same struggles for the Tigers so far this year.
Yeah, they thought they'd be a lot better, and their offense hasn't clicked yet. Some of that young pitching has had some ups and downs, but it's funny, Ray. You look at the overall record and you say, well, that's a bad club. But they recently won 4 straight, and going into the season, you just thought that could be a team that's a handful. And if they start to catch it, and get rolling a little bit, they will be a handful for a lot of teams. So it'll be interesting. We haven't seen them yet. We don't see them in spring training. So it'll be fun to see what they have and maybe why they're not playing as well as a lot of people thought. But at least recently, they're playing a little bit better. So it could be a challenging weekend.
Bases and balls. Guardians broadcaster Jim Rosenhaus. He joins us each week here on WAKR. Rosie, thank you for the time. We'll look forward to hearing you behind the mic. Always appreciate it, my friend.
You got it, Ray.